What's up, guys? So the fights just ended. It's 7:30 here in Sydney, Australia. Man, the Saudi fights. The card started at 3:30 a.m. my time, so I didn't catch the first two fights. I want to give a shout out to the Discord, man. The whatever subscriber here is in our Discord under the name The Mayweather. I salute you, mate. I didn't know we were able to live stream. I didn't know we were able to live stream in it. He shared the link. I woke up at 6 a.m. I was able to catch the last two fights, the Goodman fight and the Moses fight. So I salute you. Guys, we up though. We hit. Dude, the only fight I missed this weekend was the goddamn draw. The goddamn Omar Trinidad fight. But I gave you guys these hits. We got Hrgovic by decision. We got Nick Ball by decision. And we got Moses by stoppage. We also hit the money line locks parlay of those same fights. We hit it was a good night. We got the UFC coming up. Guys, if you haven't joined the Discord, that link is pinned here. Let me know how you guys did. Also, Aussie boxing bettors. Switch your betting apps. No more sports bet. The only betting app in Australia that doesn't force us to take the goddamn draw as an odds parlay is Bet365. So we know that Omar Trinidad moneyline draw ruined our Aussie parlays, but in America, my boy Muscles bet 50,000 on our parlay. Even though that draw came through, his parlay didn't get dusted, and he still won 10K. So, Donnie on TV, you guys are checking in. Money Meats 365 is the one. Made so much money on Ituama 1 through 3. Congrats on the ball pick. I lost on Goodman. Thank God Omar pushed. There you go. Bricks, the boys are in. As you guys are checking in, we are up. We are up. Johnny says boxing. Dwayne Styles, you missed it, brother. The fights are over. Moses won by first round knockout. Nick Ball won by decision. Hrgovic won by decision. Raymond Ford won by decision. Koki, you don't win a fight landing 4 to 5 counters per round, while Nova is outlanding you 2 to 1. No way Ford won this. Even a draw would be. So I haven't watched the fight, Koki, but half the boys messaging me saying Ray Ford looked great. They said Ray Ford won it by a landslide. And then the other half said, Johnny, Ray Ford looked sluggish. He didn't do, he didn't look that great. So I'm going to watch the fight. Even though we won. So Dwayne Styles, sub Dwayne, Havelock. What's up, Havelock? I won all 44 bucks this week, but yeah, come on, Havelock. Winning $1 more is a W. You know how we roll here. We gotta, have some sort of sacredness about our victories, even if it's $1. Can't just focus on the L's. Dwayne Styles, the locks. Yeah, Dwayne, I put him up in the Discord. You lost your star though, Dwayne. Where you at, brother? The UFC picks. I put the first 3 in the parlay. History Vault. You're talking about sportsbetting.ag. I'm talking about the Sportsbet app in Australia. Fresh BX, round 1 under 4.5, 1 to 2. It don't make sense. Holla. The concert was great. The boys are tapping in. Rand should have sprinkled on the early. It always looks good when we're looking at it in hindsight. I'm just happy we got all the dubs. I'm out here just trying to get victories for you boys. What does Gary on 3D say? If you won, tip your bartender. If you listen to me, if you use my picks, let's go. Donnie on TV, ball looked terrible. Looked terrible. I didn't see that. I thought ball looked great. Ball looked exactly how he always looks, guys. Nick Ball is Nick Ball. That style. It's kind of like when you watch a William Zepeda fight. You know what style William Zepeda fights at. You know what Zepeda looks like. When you watch a Nick Ball fight, you know what his style is. You know what it looks like. Ray Ford himself admitted he left Nova control the fight. GOAT, Ford didn't look great, but he did beat Nova. Fresh BX says, we getting high on your memory at the cash. Let's go, boys. Keep that right hand high. Adu, Ford was dictating the fight. Yeah, Adu, Ozzy, my guy, we in the house. Koki, round by round, Nova won. Koki, it sounds like you lost money on Abraham Nova. Donnie on TV, they're going to keep ball away from the other ones. Maybe. We'll see. I don't think so. I think Nick Ball, dude, Nick Ball's a good fighter, mate. Money Meech. He just goes, he operates differently. You know, he's a small guy for 126. Look, my guy at 26, it's no secret I'm a huge Rafa Espinoza fan. So I think Rafa beats everyone at 26. Ford did what he needed to do. Not great, but solid rounds. He got against a huge, yeah. And Nova, people were acting like Abraham Nova was 82 years old, 31 years old, 5'9", you know, big dude for the division. I mean, Koki outworked for it. I got to watch the fight, Koki. I'm going to do my due diligence after the UFC today. I'm going to watch the fight, and I'll get back to you tomorrow, Koki. I respect your opinion. Adu, hats off to Goodman. Sammy Boy did exactly what he thought he was going to do, guys. I told you I was cheering for Sammy, but my money was on Nick Ball. I told you guys Sam Goodman's a hell of a boxer. I told you guys Sam Goodman's a dog. I just felt like his power wasn't going to be enough to beat Nick Ball. And when I was watching the fight, Goodman landed a couple flush hooks and uppercuts late. And generally a guy with a little bit of pop late in a fight such as that, when so many punches were thrown and landed, sometimes is enough to get that knockdown. He just doesn't have that sort of crack in his punches. But he comes from a good camp. I liked his corner work. I like how they were handling him. Those scorecards were atrocious. I had it 116 to 112, 115 to 113. When I heard those scorecards, 118 to 110, that was atrocious. That 118 to 110 scorecard, atrocious. It was not that far. It was a closer fight. A couple rounds here and there. Hats off to Sammy Goodman. Dwayne Styles, Cubby leader. Johnny, give me another 2 to 3 days. You'll get your car. You'll get your star back, Dwayne. We know you got love for the chat. Nova didn't win, not even close. Lights out in the house. Max 2002. Sonny Edwards posted just before the fight started that Whyte had injured his leg and was dead on arrival. Guys, we knew that going in. Even if Whyte was, what heavyweight right now would have, you know, stood there? Moses is different, boys. The feints he does and that jab to the body. Moses was executing a game plan within the first 20 seconds. Very rarely do you see that. You know, he doesn't waste any time. My man, what did Bud say? He gets active. As soon as that fight starts, feint, boom, jab to the body, boom, up top. And notice when he had Dillian Whyte hurt, he didn't rush in. That patience he had, even though he did get a first-round stoppage, that patience he had in terms of pouring it on is veteran-type savviness. You know, to see that in a 20-year-old, usually 20-year-olds get big-eyed, they see their opponent hurt, they rush in, and then sometimes their opponent might have been playing possum and they get cracked back. Moses was cool, calm, and collective. Crack, sees Dillian Whyte get hurt, boom, the body rip, boom, exit. Dude, it was beautiful work. Ford won the fight clearly. Ituama wrecked that boy, that big boy. Koki, the problem is fans watch these DAZN fights. Yeah, with DAZN commentary, which is always highly biased. When fans rewatch these fights without commentary. I'm going, like I said, Koki, I'm gonna watch. I'm definitely gonna watch the fight. He's referencing Ray versus Nova. Chris Reed says, was gonna bet fight goes a distance in the Ball fight. Yeah, I got a nice little odds on Nick Ball by decision. I gave you guys all week. I gave you guys Nick Ball by decision, Hrgovic by decision, and Ituama, Moses by stoppage. We hit Mar the Prince. Ituama's ceiling is insanely high. I made easy work. It is, bro. I agree. Fresh BX. Them scorecards was terrible. John, yeah. Goodman is a good fighter. The scorecards were awful. Adu, what did we learn from Atama that we didn't know already? Adu, I think maybe what we could take from Ituama is, for me, his patience. You know, I knew he was crispy. I knew he was sharp. We knew all about the skill set. Maybe his patience and his fight IQ. You know, to see those two things from a 20-year-old, usually those two things come with age. It comes with adversity. We still got to see him be the nail, you know, and you can't force that. We got to see how he handles some adversity. But for me, my takeaway, his patience and then his ring IQ. Those were the standalone sort of jump out points for me, at least. Goat says, Mar, you're not I know, Mar. Mar's getting ready to become ordained, maybe Mar the King. Or Sir Mar, His Excellency. Koki, just speaking facts. Fans say, I like rewatching fights. UFC card should be good. Let's get our money on the UFC card too, Koki. Respect to Ball. His style is ugly. Yeah. Like I said, Ball's style is not going to be this sort of, you're not going to want to teach your young athlete, let's fight like Nick Ball. The brilliance in Nick Ball is what his team and what his camp coming up has molded into what his strengths and weaknesses are. When you're 5'2", you're fighting at 126 in any division, and you don't have one punch knockout power, you better have cardio, you better have volume, you better have pressure. So I think his brilliance has been how they've been able to mold a style that works for Nick Ball's weaknesses and then align that style to his strengths. There is a style out there that's going to beat him. He's going to get exposed. When Nick Ball gets beat, he's going to get stopped. I think it's Rafa Espinoza, that style that stops him. You guys might not like this take. I think Shushu Carrington would look really good against Nick Ball. I think Carrington's style against Nick Ball would look really good. Johnny Cash, we did it, Ranvar. Come on, baby. We eating. Week after week, we're going to eat. We're going to find something to eat at. We're scavengers. I used to call us architects and archaeologists, how we're like on a dig finding our victories, but now we're turning into scavengers. Week after week, we're eating. Moses is really clean. He doesn't waste energy. He takes what you give him. Yes, that patience, maybe. On to the UFC. The UFC starts in about an hour. Moses fights like a coach's dream. Straight to the point. Doesn't waste much. I agree, mate. That patience is impressive. Coach says Moses is too mobile for a lot. Moses is a nightmare, mate. Look, I told you guys all week, I've always been hesitant for any 20-year-old in any division. I've been hesitant, I guess, to ordain the 20-year-old, whatever division, as the next guy in line. Based off of our knowledge of boxing, we've seen young prospects, young hype guys come and go in the sport. So I think it's only fair as fans, analysts, just commentators of the sport to be patient with young fighters. I've been patient with Abdullah Mason. We're going to see if he's the real deal against Sam Noakes. I've been patient with Kid Schofield. He looked amazing at 22. I've been patient with Moses. And now after watching this against Dillian Whyte, man, Moses looks like he's that guy, dude. There's not much you could say. Ituama's total around. Dwayne Styles. Yeah, the chat's popping. Give me a second, boys, to get all these. This is too soon for Moses. Dude, I would actually take Moses to beat Kiki, and you guys know how high I am on Kiki Torres. I think Moses is a level above, mate. I'd love to see them fight. I just think Moses is a level above. My book, for some reason, didn't give me those lines. I think Moses would beat Torres. Goat, I just saw that comment. I agree. Johnny, hell yeah, I love the community you built. I just want to hit. Let's go. Dwayne Styles. Adu, Atama's total round count in his pro career is so far. Yep. You know, you can only look. What was Mike Tyson's total round count in his first? Was it 19 fights? It was something insane. So this is why the comparisons are there. I just think the way Moses operates. If you didn't know there were divisions, let's say you don't know anything about boxing, or no, you wouldn't be able to answer this question. My point is the way Moses operates and how he moves and how he boxes, he kind of looks like a welterweight in there. You don't see many heavyweights do that, and that's why the comparison with Kiki Torres does the same thing. I just think Moses has a bit more of an X factor in terms of obviously ending the show. Hit nicely on the card, ball decision. Ngu MMA. Good to see you in the chat. Chris Jr. made me and my girl some money on the ball fight. Chris Jr., see you in the chat. Koki, Ball, and Espinoza, but I got Espo. Yeah, Espo's one of my favorite guys. Kean Praise got Moran. I think Ball beat Espinoza. I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I think the X factor with Espinoza is his power, how he fights down. Also, Nick Ball's susceptibility to come here in the pocket and how willing Espinoza fights in the pocket with those uppercuts. Rafa throws those awkward uppercuts and punches down. I think that's the style that beats him. It's not every day you hit a plus 1,000 with we out here hitting plus 1,000s, confident, crip walking. The commentators were raving about Ball versus Inoue, but would rather see Ball. Yeah, I'm not too excited about Ball versus Inoue. I'd rather rave about Inoue first needs to beat MJ, then we better see Inoue versus Nakatani. Let that fight happen. Oleszewski, round 1, knockout to see me home. Oh, shit, mate. You look Oleszewski to stop. Well, I mean, GM3 is an old head now. GM3 is what, like 89 years old? The thing about GM3, though, is he has a UFC record for most stoppages either in middleweight history or just most stoppages in UFC history, one of them. He's a crafty vet. The thing about that Oleszewski fight is that he is going to rush GM3, and then GM3 tends to pull guard, wants to take him to the ground. It's a tough fight. Ituama is a product of the 90s heavyweight era. Mar, Johnny, after seeing Floyd versus Nova, who do you favor? So, Mar, I have to watch Floyd versus Nova. You gotta remember, I'm in Australia. When that fight was going down, it was 4 a.m. I didn't wake up. I'm still trying to fight this cold, so I needed the extra hours of rest. So I missed that fight, but I'm going to watch it after the UFC today, and I'll get back to you more. Tomorrow on my live stream, I'll get back to you. Ranver Litter says, Johnny, I agree. I think Shushu would beat Ball. One thing that bothers me about Ball is his footwork. Yeah, Ball's footwork and his, you know, when Ball faces a big puncher, a lot of Ball's success comes from eating shots. You know what I mean? But he's durable. He just hasn't, who's the biggest puncher Ball has faced thus far? You know what I'm saying? Thanks for that Ball decision late. Help me out. Enju, we're out here eating. Moses versus Kabaya. I ain't mad at that. Moses versus Jit would be a war. All week, Whyte was talking. Julius, we saw it coming too. Joel, I don't know, Johnny Torres be getting some work. Torres is my favorite heavyweight, Joel O. You know, the longer you're on my channel, you know how high I am on Kiki Torres. And he looked good against you know, Luigi, his last fight, the Italian Olympian, who's a 6'6" heavyweight, looked great. Torres has always answered the call. I think it would be super competitive. You know what? I don't like talking about hypotheticals, but those are my two favorite young heavyweights, obviously, at the time. Do they fight now or do they fight later? We'll see. I think the plans for Moses is, though, to obviously what we just saw, his trajectory is a bit here rather than whoever, you know, we know how Kiki's career has been handled. Moses' career seems obviously they're expediting it at an astronomical level, rightfully so. Those scorecards didn't give, yeah, I agree, Pedro. The scorecards were a bit unjust. The score, 118 and 110, the Goodman scorecard was insane. Like I said, 116, 112, 115, 113 is kind of how I had it. Idris versus Morales. Morales is a huge dog, King Ty. It just depends on if you would think the dogs are going to be barking. Anyways, I'm headed to a brew house. Have fun, Ranver. Stay up. Everybody doubting Ford's abilities. Idris versus Morales. UFC, who you got? You've asked that question a lot. I'm pretty sure Idris is, I think I have. Yeah, Idris is a big favorite there, mate. Ford, Higgy decision. Ituama. Carbon Tree, we're eating. John Smith, you might have COVID. No, I don't have COVID. Appreciate you. I'm recovering. I was sick last week due to my buddies staying with me from the UK. They were sick on the airplane, and then they got me sick. But I'm good now. Guido, my bad. I said Luigi. You guys, Guido Vianetta. I'm Italian, too. It's early, boys. You're the first. Guys, you're the first people I'm speaking to today. So if I mess up right now, call me out. Try doing prop bet parlay. I do, Carbon Tree. In our Discord. So Carbon Tree, if you see all the boys with the blue stars, they are Johnny Says Boxing Insider VIPs. You get access to our Discord. Our Discord is insane. So I give you all the parlays in there. $10, so you're worth it. Guido's more skilled defensively than her. Yeah, Guido's a good boxer. Who has a higher chance of beating Usyk now? I mean, Usyk, it's tough. You know what I mean? It just depends on if Usyk wants. I want to see Usyk fight Apataya, but we'll see if that happens. There's a lot of fights. Nobody's saying Jai's name. You know, maybe Jai has to go up to heavyweight to get these big fights. No one's saying Jai's name, mate. Jai Apataya is that dude. Don't sleep on Jai. Maybe, I think for the sake of big fights and marketability, Jai needs to move up to heavyweight. We'll see if that happens. Just the cruiserweight division. You know, no one's calling his name. But we'll see. There's some interesting fights to make. Let me snag a membership. You better snag a membership. It's a couple bucks a month, mate. High interest. High interest, man. You joined last week, and you said in the Discord last week, Johnny, I need to get a victory, and you got a victory, brother. So if you see high interest is Blue Star, he's in the Discord, guys. To join the Discord, just click the link that's pinned here in the comment section. It's a couple bucks a month in YouTube. You get more accessibility on YouTube. You get accessibility on my other social media channels, but more importantly, you join our Discord, like high interest here. And all the pro bettors are in there. We started it a month ago. We're at about 150 Discord members. Chilltown Boxing's in there. Muscle Brown's in there. Gary's in there. And you get my lock of the week. You get my parlays. More importantly, you join the community. Like today, shout out to Mayweather inside our Discord who streamed the pay-per-view. So I didn't even know you could do that. You know, I woke up late because it's Australia time. And he had it streaming in the Discord, perfect stream, and I was able to watch. I feel guilty about it because I'm kind of an ethical guy, but I didn't even know you could do that. Adu Hrgovic, Adelaide round 8 was definitely the round on the card. Yeah, and I hit an Adelaide knockdown prop too. Man, the only fight I missed. Now, if I lived in America, if I would have lived in America, I wouldn't have lost anything. But living in Australia, that draw yesterday, Omar Trinidad, ruined our parlay. But that's why, boys, if you're in Australia, switch your betting apps from Sportsbet to Bet365, where the draw doesn't toast your parlay. It only voids the fight. Teach says, Johnny, how did you see Ball versus Goodman? I had it 115, 113 Goodman, but I'm not upset. Nah, I had it I scored at 116, 112 for Ball, 115, 113 for Ball. Goodman fought his ass off. It was shocking, the scorecards, though, Teach. Like, to see one of the judges gave it 118 to 110 for Ball was insane. Sammy fought a hell of a fight. I told you guys, Sam Goodman's a dog. I told you all week. I was cheering for Goodman, but I just felt Ball would be a little bit too much for him due to Goodman's lack of really sort of respectable power. Praise God, Moran. Johnny, list your top 5 super feathers right now. Give me a second with that. Let's talk about it's a good question, but maybe not right now. Trinidad got a gift in that one. He fought a really, really awkward Venezuelan. I don't know if he got a gift, man. I actually had Omar winning. I did have Omar winning by a round or so. I got 117 to 111 for Ball. A bit wide. Like I said, my scores on Ball versus Goodman, 115, 113, 116 to 114. I felt like that was fair. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayweather. John Smith, right, dude? Mr. Mayweather. I didn't even know you could do that, guys. I'm still learning about Discord. What John Smith is referring to is the Discord that I aforementioned about how one of the boys in the group streamed the fight, and it was crystal clear. That's such a, you know what? That's such a service for the Discord, because yesterday I'm watching the UFC Fight Pass fights here. Well, I was out in public with my girlfriend, and some of the boys didn't have a link. So it's good now to know that I could just stream it and you boys in the Discord could see it. I really like Moses, big dude who's nimble. Yeah, there's a lot to like about Moses, guys. Atama. There's a lot to like about, like I said, his patience, dude. His patience. Think about it. It's really rare that you see a young guy hurt his opponent early and just kind of dissect. You know what I mean? He clipped him early, and he was patient. He was sort of downloading the movements of what Whyte was doing, and you could see that in all of his focus, his training. He wasn't listening to the crowd. He was just locked in. To be 20 years old, he fought like a veteran today. He is going to be a tough out. I think the hype is definitely warranted. I don't think when people talk high of Atama Moses that they're glazing him. When you watch a guy like that perform the way he does repetitively, he's only gone to the 6th round. This will be the knock on Moses. Here's the knock on Moses tomorrow by the American content creators who glaze American fighters, or the Ituama haters, or just the guys online who want to get clicks. They'll say that Atama, you know, he's only gone to the 6th round once. I think that was in his 3rd pro fight. Since then, he's not left the 2nd round. They will use his lack of pro rounds. They will use that against him. They will also say that, you know, the lack of adversity that he's faced, which this is warranted. Both things are warranted, but they're not warranted to say these are knocks on him. If you speak about Atama, you should say, moving forward, it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with pressure. It's going to be interesting to see when Moses has to deal with adversity. It's going to be interesting to see when Moses has to go deep and long in a fight. Because moving forward, whoever he gets paired next with, the game plan will definitely be smart, box smart from the outside. Like Dillian Whyte had no answers. He threw that one punch, Dillian Whyte missed, and you could see how slow he was. His legs weren't under him, not durable at all. It'll be fun to see Moses in there with a younger guy, like a Kiki Torres sort of guy, and see how he deals with that. But he's really fun. He is there more the heavyweight. He's exactly what the heavyweight division needs. Key and praise Anthony Kikache. Anthony Kikache, like I told you guys a month ago, I actually had Kikache beating Ray Ford. I did, man. I'm high on Kikache. Granted, it left a bad taste in a lot of the international fight fans' mouth when Kakachi verbally pulled out of the fight with Sugar Nunez to take the Lee Wood fight. But he said it was a financial decision. At 35, 36 years old, Kakachi has had sort of a renaissance late in his career. He wants to make money. He deserves it. So he took the Lee Wood fight, a domestic fight. Wood was a champion at 126. The Brit fans wanted to see it. Rather than risking it against a really hungry, newly minted world champion. I think that was before Sugar fought Rikishi in Japan. But either way, when they signed Kakachi to fight Ford, I was going all in on Kakachi to beat Ford, just to let everybody know. Salute to Whyte for giving the young guy a chance. True. That's another thing that should be mentioned. That is true. That's a good point, Teach. Voorhees would like to see Moses versus Efe or Guido. I agree. Voorhees, both of those would make sense. The thing is now, though, how Moses' handlers have handled him. Ben, Tyson Fury's old coach, and his promoters. Moses is going to be looking at just massive fights from here on out. That's the thing now, though. That was sort of his litmus test against an old grizzled vet. Time will tell if he's the real deal. Mr. Reed in the house. Mr. Reed, good hit on Mr. Reed hit on the Dana White Contender Series fights. My guy. You put it up in the Discord. 3 fights left. I gave that as a hit. Let's go, Mr. Reed. Kai Bell would give a problem. Yeah. Ajit, don't sleep on Ajit. Hooney wouldn't last. Justice Hooney, guys, that's a good fight. Justice Hooney versus Moses is a good fight. I like that, actually. Moses' next fight should be a British or Euro title. Yeah, I agree. John Smith, I think Moses needs to fight his size like Big Bang Zhang. Yeah, Jane's stuck in the mud. I think, Moses' speed would just have Big Bangs just frozen the entire time. I think Moses versus Zhang would look exactly like Moses versus Whyte. Sugar isn't really a big name. He's a good fight. He's a world champion. Yeah, and he's dangerous. Lee is a big name that comes with the check. Pedro, exactly. 100%. The slow heavyweight era is done for good, right, dude? What we're seeing in the heavyweight era is kind of like when Steph Curry, and I'm not a Steph Curry fan. Like, this isn't, I'm not glazing Steph. I'm not a Steph Curry fan. I'm a Cavs fan. So I'm a diehard Cleveland sports fan, diehard LeBron fan. But when Steph came onto the scene, his outside shooting literally changed the speed of the game. And the narrative and rhetoric around the NBA before Steph Curry came into the league was you need a traditional 5. You need a traditional center to win championships. And the sport changed and shifted, and we watch now what the sport looks like, what the offense is not really having a traditional big man. Think about, the archetypal Patrick Ewings of the world who ironically never won a ring. Hakeem Olajuwon, though, legendary. David Robinson, this sort of guy. And Steph Curry rewrote that whole narrative. And now what we're seeing, Moses Atama, the evolution of a sport, the evolution of a division, granted based off of the athlete itself evolving, speed, movement, timing, sharpness, not, technical too. Moses is very technical. Joy to watch. I can't wait to see more. Can't wait to see more. You think it's too early for Atama Wardley? I don't know if the Brits would want to do that. Mar, that's a great question. I think Atama. I think Moses is an issue. That's the problem. I think with Moses is where do you do with him because he's so good. I think he's that good. If you're gonna go Moses Wardley, I think you go Moses Justice first. I want to see how Moses would deal with another skilled heavyweight. Because Wardley, we know he's one punch, he's one dimensional. No, we know what he wants to. I want to see how Justice handles a mover. I want to see how Moses handles a mover. You guys are tripping. Justice Hooney, I think, would fare really well against Moses. Big was sorry I'm drunk. It's all good, Victor. Victor's on the piss. Barachito, Victor Vallejo, Barachito, mijo. No, solamente no cocas blancos, mijo. Solamente tequila. Was good, Jay. DJ Green in the house. Hooney could win. I would actually, dude, Hooney versus Moses is a great fight. Hell no, these British champions and contenders will fight each other 1,000 times before fighting any elite fighters from anywhere else. Somebody doesn't like the British boxing scene. I love British boxing. DJ Green off of vacation. Get it, DJ. Hopefully you had a good holiday. Victor saw the fights. Both Nick and Moses won. Big love, Johnny, in chat. We out here eating, Victor. DJ Green, you still confident current? Yes. DJ, that bet's live. We got to stay. I'm a ride or die sort of guy, DJ. I will never post something and say once I'm and DJ, historically, you know me on the channel. If I flip-flop, I tell you. 2 weeks ago, I was on Sam Goodman, did the film study, flip-flopped. Karini Silva, Kaya Sakura, and Chase Hooper, yes, I'm riding with them. John Smith, at least Zhang would come forward and punch. I didn't understand. Yeah, I think Dillian Whyte was like, standing in front of a massive heavyweight like that. It had to be, he didn't look like he wanted to be there at all, dude. Dillian Whyte did not, he took a long time to walk out. Maybe now that long walkout makes sense to us now. Victor, what a good fight, especially the Philip and David fight. Adeleye, yeah, we hit on Philip by decision, and I hit with Adeleye getting knocked down at $1.87. Clifton Dennis, my parlay hit, guys. Clifton, we eating. Clifton Dennis in the house. Popping in and out of the chats, my guy. I love when you guys hit. Rate my rankings: Espo, Fulton, Ball, Foster, and nice, mate, Kian. Obviously I love Espo, Rafa at 1. Fulton, man, people forget about Cool Boy. I like Fulton at 2. I actually, maybe I'm too high on Angelo Leo. It's tough. Maybe I would put Oshaki in front of Ball. Maybe I would go Espinoza, Fulton, Foster, Ball, Leo. But I do like Leo. I think Leo has a couple performances in him that could kind of shift him. I still don't know how good Leo is yet. But I like what I saw from him in his last Pro Box feature. I like how Pro Box has been moving him. I like how he went to Japan, won a tough fight. I think people are sleeping on how good Oshaki Foster is, though. I think Foster would beat Nick Ball. That's a good list. I like that list, Moran. Adu, Justice might need Atama to get that next big fight. I think so. Mayweather, mate, we appreciate you with that live stream, brother. The Mayweather, man, I brought you up a couple times in this live stream. You hooked us up in the Discord, big dog. Much love. Hooney dominated Worley. Exactly. Hooney can box, guys. Johnny, I'm on track to win 3,800, bro. I'm going to sprinkle some on you for sure. Appreciate you, mate. High interest, man. This is what we do. We're not here just picking randoms, guys. I told you guys from jump when you guys asked me 6 months ago to start giving you my predictions that I never pick with my heart. I pick with my wallet, and my goal is for you guys to win. So I was, perfect example, I was cheering for Sammy Goodman. Watch my breakdown. I told you this. I said my heart is with Goodman, but my money is with Ball. And that's a perfect example of what high interest is talking about. Like, I'm going to do film study for you. I'm going to research for you. And when I do my picks, you're going to get logical reasoning. Nobody's 100% hit rate, but we hit a lot. We hit a lot. We're scavengers out here. We're finding wins every week. I'm riding with them too. DJ, let's get it. FX Coaching. Oh, we got a new one. Brody, Victor, welcome to the club, Victor. Victor now has access to the Discord. Victor, to get the Discord link, go on my YouTube interface. You'll see videos, shorts. You'll see members' posts. So you have access on our YouTube now that not everybody else has. And in that VIP access on my channel, Victor, you'll see the Discord link. FX Coaching, do you like the MVP fight? He's talking about MVP versus Jared Cannonier. Look, guys, if you won money on boxing, if you're here for boxing, and you want to just get some action, sprinkle a little bit on the UFC picks. I gave you my picks in the Discord. I don't like MVP beating Cannonier. I've watched Jared in the regionals when he was fighting Alaskan regional MMA. Cannonier was a heavyweight who was a wrestler and a grappler. He's the only guy in UFC history to win fights in 3 divisions. He's won fights at heavyweight, he's won fights at light heavyweight, he's won fights at middleweight where he currently campaigns. Never really, dude, he's been at the world level his entire career. He's super durable. I think he's too smart to fall for MVP striking, and I think that we're going to see a killer gorilla living up to his nickname. I think he's going to be able to get past MVP's initial strike onslaught and not fight. The biggest mistake you make is to fight MVP at range. You want to get past those kicks. You get inside on a deep double leg. You take him down, and you beat him on the ground. I got Cannonier winning that fight, and I'm getting plus money. Let's go. America has that with Joshua Edwards, man. Only 4. What is Josh now? 4-0 with 4 knockouts. Went pro late last year. Every time Josh fights, we talk about him. So that's a good call, Pedro. Give Josh 2 more years, maybe 3. Victor Vallejo, you spoke my Spanish Colombian language. Yeah, Victor. I lived in Long Beach, California for 7 years, and I worked at a Latin nightclub called La Palapa. And I took some years of Spanish in high school, so my Spanish got better when I lived in California, having to, all the guys I worked with were from Michoacan, Mexico. So I would learn to ask for things, puedo tener uno más, por favor, or, ¿dónde está tequila? Me llamo Giovanni, como te llamo? DraftKings taking their time to pay out. Mayweather, they'll get you though, Mayweather. You know your money's coming, Mayweather. Any idea why I couldn't bet on the Ford Nova fight on FanDuel? Jay Voorhees, I heard that FanDuel made a couple adjustments with their odds due to Raymond Ford missing weight by 0.3 pounds, and then the fight, I think, was changed from a 12 to a 10. You'd have to look into that. I don't know much about FanDuel. The fighters were so good, man. Hope everyone won their bets, include Johnny, brother. Big dubs. Appreciate you, Victor, man. Let's have fun tonight. Points bet slow. Sammy Martin, the money will come. If you hit, the money will come. They're not going to keep your money. I'll do UFC too. Okay, Mayweather. Mayweather, go to the Discord. I put up my UFC picks. I also have some sneaky ones I'll put up after this live stream. Cayenne, praise God, Moran. Dricus versus Hamzat. I'm nervous. I'm rooting for DVP. Me too. So, obviously, we know Hamzat Chimaev is the real deal, right? I gave you guys my upset of the week is DDP, the champion. We got him at plus 255. My logical reasoning with taking DDP is based on Chimaev this will be the biggest guy, strongest guy Chimaev has ever fought. I mean, Dricus, every time he fights a guy he's supposed to lose, he's super unorthodox. We know he's not going to run out of gas. He's not a pretty guy, but he wins fights. Hamzat almost got stopped in the second round against a 155er. So if you I shared it in our group, and I shared it in the Discord. When Hamzat fought Gil fought him at 170, but Gil fought his entire career at 155 and took him to a decision, and I thought it was a close decision. It was only a 3-rounder. Also, we saw Chimaev versus Usman. Granted, Usman, world champion, world-class Hall of Famer. If that fight goes 5 rounds, I think Usman wins that fight. You mix that with Duplessis walking around at 230 pounds, you know what I mean? This guy walks around at 230. He's massive. We know he's going to hydrate. I think Hamzat wins the fight if he could get Dricus down early and sub him early. That's going to be the path to victory. I just think that Duplessis comes from such a good camp. He's a world champion for a reason. That his whole camp has been defending the takedown, sprawling and getting up. And the later this fight goes, the deeper waters it's going to be for Chimaev. So I actually have DDP to win on the money line as an upset. We got him at plus money. I'm happy with it. Victor says, thanks, dude. Big love. Big love to you too, my brother. Pedro, is that Joseph Morales versus Alibi, the Ultimate Fighter? Yeah, you're talking about Alibi Adri. Yeah. And Morales is a huge dog in this fight. It goes down in 23 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up in about 15 minutes and get sorted to watch the UFC. I got to grab something to eat too. So it is my 8:15 a.m. Sunday morning. I'm going to keep this on for a little bit longer. Jared is good. Been robbed by the early stoppage. Yeah. Jared is good. Jared, it'll be a travesty when you look back at Cannonier's career, you know, being one. I think Jared's one of the best guys to not win a title. And you have guys like this who are like Uriah Faber, in my opinion. For Uriah Faber to retire and never have been a world champion is a travesty, in my opinion. We do know Uriah was a WEC world champion. If it wasn't for Uriah Faber was that wave of fighters under 155 pounds who came to the UFC at a time when the UFC didn't have weight classes under 155, and Uriah was already a star. Uriah, the California kid, was selling out arenas in California, Sacramento, before he was in the UFC, and he had some wars with Josie Aldo. He had some great fights with Dominic Cruz. He had some great fights with who's the kid, Uncle Creepy, Ian McCall. This is all before the UFC. So, if Cannonier doesn't ever get a belt, which, this is his last run, he's already in his 40s, he's going to be on that list with Uriah Faber never becoming a world champion. Donald Cerrone is another one, never became a world champion. And it's just a testament to how tough the sport of MMA is. And that's why it's tough to bet on these main events I told you about last week. Parity in the UFC, not P-A-R-O-D-Y, but P-A-R-I-T-Y. It's a homophone. In the English language, the word parity is considered a homophone, meaning that it's spelled the same as another word, it sounds the same as another word, but it means something different. And a lot of these matchups on these main events, they're so close to pick. I generally, if I'm betting heavy on MMA, like I did last week and the week before when we hit 21 bets in a row, it's because the odds are different. You have sort of wider odds and you could see a path to victory, whether they're a veteran or a prospect, etc. On these main event, these paywall fights, these UFC big number fights, it's tougher to predict. So I wouldn't put too much on these fights. Bricks says, in what section is UFC picks posted? So Bricks, go to Johnny's Locks. So in the Discord, go to Johnny's Locks. You'll see it. Aaron Pico for knockout. He was great. Yeah, I'm taking Aaron Pico based on the fact of, LaRon Murphy, I think he's fading. He's a 34, 35-year-old prospect. He has a great record. You watch LaRon fight his last few fights. He doesn't fight with a lot of urgency. Pico's coming for him. Pico, great standout in wrestling. I just have Pico on the money line. Tim Elliott versus Asakura. Elliott's going to be a tough out. Elliott's claim to fame was how tough he fought Demetrius Johnson. Lost a decision. I think that was at a time when DJ had never even lost a round. Elliott might have, stole a round, and he fought him on short notice. Kai Asakura, though, is a Japanese prospect. Like I told you all week, the UFC is hungry to find another Japanese world champion. This is coming from a sport in a country. This is coming from a country that was the sort of genesis of MMA. In the 90s and early 2000s, Japan had the biggest stars. Takanori Gomi, the Fireball Kid, fought that famous fight in Pride against a young Nick Diaz when they brought the Pride to America for the first time in Colorado. He didn't win that fight, but Takanori Gomi, global superstar. Kazushi Sakuraba, another one, MMA legend. They call him the Gracie Hunter. Sakuraba, every time he fought against Brazilians, when he fought, he had those famous fights with Vanderlei Silva, he didn't fare too well. But every time he'd fight, fucking Hoist Gracie, and his not Hickson. Hickson didn't fight in the Pride. Anyway, the UFC is hungry to find another Japanese star. They think Asakura is it. Asakura, I have him on the money line. By the way, what time is it in country with you? It's 6:13 a.m. Philippines. It is 8:21 here in Australia on Sunday. I think I'm the youngest in here. Keon Praise. Welcome, brother. Favorite long... Yeah, Keon, I'm an old head, brother. Favorite long shot UFC play, brother. I'm taking the dog. There's a couple dogs that could be barking in the UFC. Like I told you, I'm taking Duplessis. I'm waiting to get paid. The money will come, high interest. Don't stress it. Yeah, Brian Battle missed weight by 4 pounds, fights off. DDP distance or knockout. I could see DDP late stoppage. If Comsett didn't get DDP neck, DDP left him or submit him. Do you like to do so if the UFC do I like to do UFC live betting? Is that what you mean, or do I stream it live? I watched UFC live show, and DC says I was working with, I think, Ohio State Wrestling Athletic Performance for cardio. Apparently, he broke some record. How much do you think the IBF's rehydration clauses factor in Murtaza's? It's a great point, Mar the Prince. But rumor is Murtaza's is kind of a nightmare to negotiate with. That's what I heard. Why it was so easy for Zoo to get that fight after obviously what happened with Fedora is that research Murtaza's and his team and how they negotiate. That's all I'm saying. You'd have to look more into it. DDP never fought a wrestler like Hamza. True. Both guys are kind of one of one. Why do you pick UFC underdog? So high interest. Every week I have to pick an underdog. The reason why I'm picking Dricus Du Plessis, A, he's the world champion. B, Khamzat Chimaev has never fought a guy as big as Du Plessis. Du Plessis is massive. He fights at 85. He walks around about 230. C, so Khamzat's not going to be able to bully him. C, the cardio. We've seen Chimaev fade in fights. This is a 5-rounder. His fight against Usman, if that goes 5 rounds, I think he loses. He fought a 155er, Chimaev did, in Gilbert Burns, and he got dropped, almost got stopped in the 2nd round. And so I've just seen bigger holes in Chimaev's game. I'm not a hype fan. I'm not a fan of any fighter who has all that hype. Every time DDP has been an underdog, what's he do? He wins. And DDP is one of those guys, his style doesn't look good, and he's real awkward, but he's a monster to deal with. I think at plus money, the world champion in the UFC, 9-0, you're getting him as the dog. Come on, mate. I think you got something on your Camara, bro. On your Camara. I don't know what that means. Who you favor in Prates versus Neal? It's another good fight. Prates, Brazilian, he fights out of the Fighting Nerds camp. You know, doesn't have a perfect record, 7 losses. Jeff Neal, guys, is a guy that I think he's a forgotten guy in the welterweight division. I think Jeff Neal is one of my favorite fighters because of his boxing. I like the camp he comes from. I think we've never really seen Jeff Neal's prime. It wasn't a long time ago where people were talking about Jeff Neal being a future champion. You know, he has a win over Bilal Muhammad. We know he's had out of the octagon issues before, and he's, I think, only 34. He's heavy-handed. The way Prates likes to fight, I don't think Prates is as durable as he thinks he is. I actually have Jeff Neal in that fight. Aussie card coming up too, John. I'm going to that fight. So I'll be at the fight Wednesday. Nikita Zoo and Michael Zarafa are fighting. Adu, you know we're always eating on those Aussie cards. FX. So I'm not going to stream live for the UFC, but FX, I think one of the boys are putting the stream up in the Discord. I can't be streaming. It takes a lot of energy, and I kind of want to just watch the fights on a chill. So that's why FX. Victor John. Yeah, guys, like this chat, man. We're 48 minutes in. We're floating between 50 and 80 people. 17 of you have liked it. That's kind of depressing, actually. So like this chat. Come on. Adios todos. Arrivederci. Buenos noches. Hasta luego. Mochi mochi. I only need 3 more fights for Mr. Reed. Cash out, Mr. Reed. 3 more fights for over 10K. But if you could cash out, I would cash out. But I always side on the air of caution. I'm a very cautious guy, if you didn't know. I feel like Khamzat is bigger. Yeah, there was that one camera angle going around where Khamzat looked bigger, but he's not. He's 6'2" wrestler, walks around. Khamzat's a dog, man. The hype is warranted for Chimaev. When I said I don't buy the hype, you have to make me a believer. Khamzat being the favorite, I think that is super disrespectful, but it's not like Vegas picks the favorite off of a human thing. They pick the favorite off of where the money's coming in at. And we know Chimaev has a massive international following. So Chimaev is a monster, guys. Don't get it twisted. Chimaev is an animal. But you're giving me Du Plessis at plus money. There's no reason to bet DDP here. Wait for live. Not a bad shout, Daily. Do you think Khamzat wrestling level is the same as Khabib? I think actually, that's a good question. They're kind of. Khabib's cardio was better. Khabib's cardio was better, and where they both are very similar though is their intent on getting to their next point. You know what I'm saying? I think Chimaev has a tendency to stand up a little bit longer. We saw Khabib use his striking to get to point A. He did stand with Michael Johnson and got clipped and got rocked. And then we saw him get clipped against Conor in the third. He actually lost that third round, and they stopped Conor in the fourth. It's a good question. It's a good question. Do they cancel each other out? You know, I've seen, and if you want to nitpick, we've, watched the fight, Khabib, his first fight in the UFC. A lot of people say he lost that fight versus Massarandoba, the Brazilian powerhouse. Yes, mate, dude, bro, pal, compadre. All right, Chimaev the GOAT. See, Chimaev has a lot of fans. Guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. We got the UFC starting in 10 minutes. Guys, go to the Discord. There'll be a stream there. Your money's coming. I'm going live again today. And I appreciate all you. Elbow up, right? Elbow up. Boom, elbow up. I'll be back.